A lot of Cowboys fans are already ready to move on from Tyler Guyton, just 1 year in. But do the Cowboys feel the same way? And what if I told you that Tyler Guyton's shortcomings during his rookie season just a year ago were a Cowboys problem instead of a Tyler Guyton problem? I'm Lando from The Lando Show.
All right.
And this is Sports Below the Surface. We're going to unpack this for you today, right after this.
I am inevitable.
First thing I want to do is clear up, just in case there's any confusion as to where I stand on the position, I guess just where I stand with this Cowboys upcoming draft. I've obviously been one of the more vocal ones. I don't know if I'm leading the charge at all. I don't care really, but I just speak in my mind in regards to the offensive line position, the state that it's in currently. Okay. And I just want to make clear, I am not, in a perfect world, the Cowboys have already done enough with the additions of Robert Jones, of Sadiq Charles, and then everything else that they already had pre-existing on their roster. But this isn't a perfect world, okay? Do I like the fact that the Cowboys are taking at least one part of where I've been at with regard to the situation and turning over every leaf under the hood, every single corner of the house? Couch cushions, closets, drawers, garage, attic. They're searching for any chance that they can upgrade, right? So they're not complacent currently with where they are with their offensive line. So that's sort of the foundation of my entire angle when I'm coming at this, saying get ready, or at the very least, don't rule out O-line yet, because the Cowboys are still clearly trying to get better there. That's the point, right? I just want to make that clear, that where we stood, and even still where we stand, but prior to Robert Jones, prior to Sadiq Charles, prior to who I think should still be in play, Will Hernandez, and then the three offensive linemen that are on their 30 visits. Kelvin Banks, Jonah Savaiinaea, if I say that correctly. Jonah S is the easy way to say it. We can do it that way if we have to. And then Armand Membou, as of just a couple days ago. The Cowboys aren't complacent, okay? They know that there's a chance that they can improve. That's why they're bringing all these guys in. I think there are currently 14 offensive linemen right now on the Cowboys roster. Obviously, not all of those guys are going to make the roster, the final 53. Carry 9, some teams carry 10. So at least 4 guys are getting cut. So why on earth would you bring one more guy in here? Well, the answer to that question is because if you do that, that means that one guy that you bring in is upgrading somewhere. Now, in round 1, if you're taking a guy, then you're telling me that he's upgrading and starting. So he's upgrading RG1 or LT1. And the Cowboys are doing their homework. So clear discrepancy between me saying, hey, we don't need a skill position player, or hey, let's not get a skill position player round 1. That's not where I'm at. I'm gonna be doing backflips if Ashton Genty somehow makes it. I'm gonna be doing front flips if Tetairoa McMillan is there and that's the selection. And I might do a cannonball if Matthew Golden is the highest graded player that the Cowboys have at 12, and he's the selection. I'll do all the above if we can trade back and get Omarion Hampton somewhere in the 18 to 24 range. Might go streaking. Not literally. Don't strike me, YouTube, please. So, in summary of my stance, and I had this discussion with Lou from Lou's Takes please go check out that video. You guys will not be disappointed. It will not be a waste of your time. We both agreed that this is just simply necessary due diligence to try and get better. Okay. Freeing yourself up in free agency, patching up holes, and in this case, a couple band-aids on a bullet hole, if I'm just being honest. You'll have Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, Sadiq Charles, Robert Jones, maybe another guy, to Cooper Beebe, depending on what happens between now and game one, starting for one of those interior offensive line spots, and the right guard spot in particular. And then the same thing, the whole point, and I've been saying, despite how I feel or anybody feels about Tyler Guyton, which is going to be sort of the transition and into that specific situation. Okay, Tyler Guyton was failed by the Cowboys, right? And it was always unfair to expect him, and we're going to unpack exactly why. I've got plenty of context for you. He was a long shot in year one. Okay, but I have some very specific and very important details here. Now, let's also be clear before we unpack this even further. If the Cowboys identify Armand Membou as a clear upgrade, or Jonah Savaiinaea, or Kelvin Banks at left tackle at pick either 12 or 44, because Jonah S that's kind of his range, round 2 somewhere. I think some guys have him as low as 3, but I think his versatility is enough. I think his power is enough. I think he's rare for his size and athleticism. Real quick, other side note that I forgot to mention that's actually incredibly important here. There's a clear type. The Cowboys have a type right now with Brian Schottenheimer. Okay. And it's going from a scalpel to a sledgehammer. And just a very surface level peek at this, which is not me by any stretch, right? I try to be candid about, how sometimes I talk too much just because that's just the way that my mind works. I'm a sports below the surface guy, and I'm very analytical. And there goes my camera. Can't wait to solve this issue, guys. I apologize. I guess the FaceTime camera is going to have to do for now. There we go. So I don't even remember where I was. We'll pick it right back up, though. We'll get back into the flow. No issue. Tyler Guyton. Oh, the offensive lineman. Okay, the type. Shotty's type. Going from a scalpel with the previous regime to a sledgehammer. Robert Jones, 6'4", 320. 322, actually. It is a part of the show. Salam said, hey, you're not wrong, man. It's sometimes it's not just a part of the show. It's actually the star of the show. It tries to be, but we ain't going to let that happen. So 6'4", 322 for Robert Jones and Sadiq Charles. Armand Membou. Similar story. Six four 332. Jonah Savaiinaea. 6'4", 324. So across the board, we have an average of 6'4", 323 for undrafted or unrestricted free agents. I guess it's technically 322 because it's the same. And then for the 30 visits, I don't know what the math is because Kelvin Banks is an inch taller and about 15 pounds lighter than the other two visitors so far. But we've got 6'4", 324, 6'4", 332, and 6'5", 315. And all five of those guys thrive moving people, being powerful. The Dancing Bears, Jonah S. and Kelvin Banks, Armand Membou too. All three of those guys are powerful, but they're also freakishly athletic. They're great movers for as big as they are. That's why it's important to listen to the discussion that I had just 2 days ago with Loose Takes, because he and I, we kind of went deep on Shoddy's scheme as it relates to I guess what they're looking for within their prospects. Okay, and the details, the intricacies that I've tried to convey are very telling. All right, they want to be more physical, and it's really that simple to understand. All right, so now the case for Tyler Guyton, because clearly the thumbnail said Tyler Guyton versus offensive line at 12 or the NFL draft. Okay, here's what fans are missing. All right, so please hear me when I say this and pay very close attention, and I'll do the best I can. I'll also be looking for questions that you guys present as we go through. How Cowboys Tyler Guyton can move from bust to home run. And there's specific quotations there for a purpose, okay? A late blooming athlete thrown into the fire. Guyton was failed by a Dallas Cowboys staff fighting for survival. Now he may be on the verge of a really big breakout. That's what we hope. So that's what we're wanting, okay? I think the Cowboys clearly, given that they've brought in two guys at guard and so far nobody at tackle through free agency, that says a lot about the words that they told us about Tyler Guyton and just his physical development, his transformation, being in the weight room almost every single day, living in there, I think is what Shoddy said, living in the weight room. It's one of the key points. This kid was 22 years old last year, wasn't even in his grown man body yet. So that's kind of what we're gonna break down. I'm gonna present to you guys why it's foolish, and as I've been saying for I don't know how long now, but I'm finally dedicating just an entire project to it because it was way past due. Why it's foolish to say things like he's a bust, he's trash, he can't play, doesn't belong, right? And this is coming from a guy who's been so loud about, hey, if you think you can upgrade at left tackle in round one, you should do it. But I think the best case scenario is that they don't. And Tyler Guyton lives up to what I'm getting ready to talk to you about, what they drafted him to be. Okay, it's just the fact that fans were too short-sighted. You got too excited because of the preseason hype, right? Remember, this is a guy that still nobody really was excited about the second they selected him. It wasn't a popular pick amongst the fan base. Then you start to hear the news about his training, and that's also an important nugget that we're going to talk about. They kind of switched up a little bit. Oh, okay, I'm a little excited now. And then the second something went wrong, or false start penalty, or holding, or gets whipped, and Dak gets sacked, or whoever, couldn't wait to just jump down this kid's throat and raise the flag of the declaration of Nostradamus from any fan who most were, given the way that things ended after the Green Bay game, just the pessimism, right? Portraying that public pessimism and projecting it onto a player who was failed by his organization more than he failed himself. And by the way, he put a lot of really good things on tape. 6'8", 330. Did not play. He was a full-time basketball player until his senior year of high school. Okay? He didn't even start playing football until his senior year of high school. Reading some comments here, trying to catch up. He didn't become a full-time offensive lineman, right? So he goes from full-time basketball player. And 2018, I believe, was his last year as a full-time basketball player. 2019 was his senior year, is when he started playing football. And then in 2022, it wasn't until then that he became a full-time offensive lineman. So they didn't even know what to do with him, right? TCU or OU. They're trying to figure out where to put this guy. I got a fluid athlete that's never really played football before. By the way, he's the biggest guy on the field, but he's also one of the most athletic, pound for pound. So all these different things, right? And then you fast forward to the NFL, okay? So he's a college right tackle asked to flip to left tackle as a rookie for America's team, America's favorite team to hate, the largest microscope in sports, protecting the most polarizing player in sports. Year one. Oh, and not to mention backing up a left tackle that's a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he hangs him up and becomes eligible. Big shoes to fill and even bigger expectations. Too big. Okay, now let's talk about where the Cowboys failed him. I already talked about how he was only 22 last year, still very much in his doughy body as opposed to his grown man body, his peanut butter body, as Bosch Lombardi would say. Yeah! What up, Bosch? Let's keep going. I touched on this a second ago. And here's sort of the punchline. Is it not ironic to you that, remember the whole fan switch up thing that we touched on, right? Fans hated it at first, then they started hearing some rumblings behind the scenes about the development starting to come along a little bit. Rave reviews from one very particular, very important offensive line coach that is not even employed by the Dallas Cowboys, mind you. Is it not ironic to you that the highest, the most optimism was circulating in Cowboys land when he was training with somebody not even employed by the Dallas Cowboys? World-renowned offensive line trainer, mastermind, Big Duke Manyweather. Remember that picture of Mike Solari and Big Duke inside the Cowboys facilities in Frisco last year? Them, cheesing it up together? That wasn't Big Duke looking for Mike Solari's expertise. I promise you that. That was vice versa. Look at his list. Look at the guys on his list, his resume of guys that he's trained. Zach Martin's one of them, by the way. More and more guys are starting to feed into this program, the OL Masterminds, I believe is his app. So please check that out. That's one way for you to support Big Duke, because Big Duke plays a big role, and he's going to continue to play a big role in the development of Tyler Guyton. But back to the question, is it not ironic to you that the most optimism happened before the season began for Tyler Guyton in his rookie year? Before he was taken into Mike Solari's custody. All the hype and noise sort of paused. Now, in fairness, it's when the lights come on, the real games are being played. You can't hide behind hype, coach speak, and training videos. One-on-one. Right? It's a different level. I get that. So yes, that parallel is natural. But is it not ironic to you that there was really no development from the time that we saw really the first preseason game all the way up until his last rep in 2024? There was definitely some development, but it wasn't. It just felt like it was a guy that wasn't getting the help that he needed. Simple mistakes like jumping off sides. That to me is I don't know. Listening to him talk about the new offensive line coaches, plural, I think that's pretty important. I think that it was very telling. And then one of the offensive line analysts, I believe, and I forget that gentleman's name, but Tyler Guyton, he's clearly he's clearly excited. Okay, now excitement once again. Lights don't come on yet. We'll have more context when the live bullets start firing. All right, but so building off of the is it not ironic to you spiel? Why do I feel that way? What's the context behind why that may be? And here's that interview. I forgot that I put it in here. This is part of it. It's a different segment though. But Mike Solari was in a contract year last year. Camera's out again. And Loose Takes, actually, I think let me know if you guys can still hear me okay. My guy Lou said that I think he's a software engineer, is what he said. And he gave me a tip or two on how to prevent this problem from happening, because it's an exterior camera that I'm using that keeps cutting out. And every now and then it just stops picking it up. I don't know why that's the case, but we're just dealing with it. 1 foot forward. So Mike Solari was in a contract year, guys. Okay. And it could really just be left this simply. Remember the reports in training camp and Solari, anytime he was interviewed, and all the rumblings and the rumors were Chuma Edoga actually might start game one. And I would actually love to find a tweet because I snuffed right through that BS. Let me see if I can get to it. I should have I should have searched for that. I don't remember the keyword. Just I've obviously slept since then, so that's okay. It doesn't really matter right now. But just you guys remember the rumors, right? We were 2-3 weeks into training camp, and we're still hearing, Tyler Guyton getting all the second team reps. Chumoy Doga has a chance to be the starter, right? It was just like they were dragging this thing out. Mike Solari, in its simplest form, did not have. He wasn't in a situation in a contract year where he's fighting for his coaching life, feed his family, pay his bills, right? To handhold a developmental project. There wasn't the tender love and care, the patience, the coaching necessary. Those guys were still also trying to figure out how to run the football. And don't think I haven't forgot about what the in-depth that we're going to go on Steve Shimko and why he's an important figure that's not being talked about nearly enough. I teased that on my last show, and I did not forget. So can't wait for you guys to hear me read the things that we unpack surrounding that situation as far as the run game is concerned. On top of, offensive line coach number 1, Clayton Adams. Offensive line coach number 2, Connor Riley. Co-offensive coordinator, Junior Adams, who's now the Cowboys wide receivers coach, who just so happened to help mastermind the number 1 offense in the country, number 1 team in the country's offense last year for most of the season, the Oregon Ducks. That's what held him back. It was all the traditional things that rookies have to deal with, plus the microscope, switching sides, not having a coaching staff who was just dealt the hand to actually hold his, and then living in the shadow of a legend, a surefire Ring of Honor inductee, a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, Tyron Smith. It makes sense, right? Plus, and that doesn't even mention the inexperience that was in play, that we knew about, that we should have been more patient with. We, as in the fan base. Yeah, Salam, it's crazy, dude. Trust me, I know. I've got work on every platform talking about this stuff. My latest piece is actually discussing the differences philosophically between the previous regime under McCarthy and then this one under Shoddy. That's the whole scalpel and the sledgehammer. Okay, and I included it in the title because I didn't know if I would get to it, and I didn't know if my article would actually be published in time or not to go back and review it. It's still in the reviewing phases, but I guess I can go back and touch on some of the stuff just by using the template that's unedited or unfinished, I guess, unpublished. Let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll get up out of here. For years, the Cowboys offense has lived in the world of finesse, quick game, timing routes, rhythmic progression reads, and lateral run designs. It's kind of touching upon what Salam was saying. But Brian Schottenheimer doesn't play chess. He fights. The early signs are all there. Multi-tight end sets, bigger linemen, which is what we touched on a minute ago. A significant increase, by the way. I don't know if I gave you guys this piece of context too, as far as like I think the average offensive guard, I don't know where I wrote that. I know it's included in some of my work somewhere. But the average offensive guard, as of I believe the year was 2023, was 6'3", 315. All these guys are clearly taller and heavier than that. So there's just that extra little nugget for you. But in Seattle, Schottenheimer's time there, he ranked top 10 in 12 personnel usage throughout his tenure. I think he was up as high as number 6 in 2019, I want to say. Maybe 2018. But they leaned on power scheme, which is what we're going to do here, which is why you're seeing the increase in the preference of guys who are bigger on the higher end of your height and weight. But there's also the power and the athleticism required in some capacity too, because of the pin and pull stuff that's going to be a part of this power running game. Once again, we talked about this pretty in depth, myself and Lou's Takes. You can find that on my channel under the live tab. Just scroll down. It's like this. It should be the top one after this one. So meanwhile, McCarthy often leaned pass heavy, and we know how true that is, don't we? Using the run to maintain balance, but not necessarily establish their identity. His offense gave quarterbacks more autonomy at the line of scrimmage. Dak's mental, right? Touched on that too, right here. That's written about. CowboysCountry.com. Landon Holyfield, you'll find it if you're interested. His offense gave quarterbacks more autonomy at the line and relied on surgical execution. Emphasis on surgical execution. Scalpel, right? Precision, pinpoint. Dak, you better thread this needle, buddy. Because we're not necessarily scheming guys wide open. Those shallow drags and crossers that I thought we would see a lot more of, we didn't. And when we did, you'd see explosive plays. More motion at the snap, exit motion, things like that. Modern nuances of the West Coast, the outside zone, the Shanahan tree people. This was just old school, and it wasn't good enough, right? Ultimately, McCarthy's downfall was a lack of physical identity or ability to adjust or game plan accordingly when opponents committed to bully ball, the blueprint, right? The Cowboys' most embarrassing losses in the last half decade since McCarthy took over were as a result of not winning up front on both sides of the ball, sometimes in embarrassing fashion, losing. Schottenheimer, though, he simplifies the picture. Strips down the menu and lets the big boys eat. That's the foundation. It's grind you away, just over and over again. Ground and pound. Boom, boom, boom. I knew I still had that. Thought it was in there somewhere. Hadn't used that one in a while. This is Shotty. I'll probably get a copyright strike for that, but that's okay. I'll just let the YouTube people, the YouTube gods, delete that clip. But you guys got to hear it at least once. That's all that matters. The difference is philosophical. Where McCarthy wanted to keep you off balance, Shotty wants to impose his will. It's no coincidence that every lineman Dallas has added this offseason or brought in for an interview weighs over 320 pounds, with the exception of Kelvin Banks, who's going to certainly grow into 320 plus pounds. He's 315 right now, okay? Offseason peanut butter, take care of that. This isn't finesse anymore. It's trench warfare. It's tone setting, guys. It's being able to translate and win when it's cold outside, when it's hard to throw the football and catch it, when teams go completely against what their tendencies would suggest. like the Bills did, and instead say, hey, here's 2 and 3 tight ends, and here's 49 carries for 300 yards right down your throat. You don't have an answer for it. Same thing was true on the opposite side of the ball. The Cowboys lacked that physical identity, so they didn't wear on teams. I will say there is one example where it really did feel different, and they sort of embodied that blue collar, let's set the country club culture to the side and let's go win a grinder. That Steelers game last year. That was one of the few, if any other examples. But that's what Schottenheimer has always known. That's who he's always been. Okay. The bottom line, if McCarthy's offense was a surgeon with a scalpel, Schottenheimer's offense is a brawler with brass knuckles. That Joker energy right now. And it also kind of plays into this right here. There's a very real culture shift that's happening, guys. It's kind of the whole purpose of everything that I've said thus far. It's the purpose behind O-line at 12 or 44. It's the purpose behind they've brought in 2 offensive guards in free agency, but I still want to bring in Will Hernandez because I still think you can get better. I still think you could draft one and improve. If that's the highest graded player on your board, you should do it. I still know you got to play the Eagles twice a year, who have clearly adopted this mentality. I still know that the NFL pendulum, as far as styles, is swinging back in favor of power running game, power football. Defenses have caught up with their positionless personnel and their ability to match you, whether you want to go, you want to throw all these different types of pass catchers out there. We can match that. We got the linebackers that can play backwards, and we got safeties that can do both, right? They can play in a box, but they're also athletic enough to cover and eliminate tight ends. Teams, it's a constant chess match, guys. All right, but this is the last thing that I'll leave you with tonight. The subheading, to me, says it all. And as Gary says, yes, sir, I appreciate you. Hit that like button for Lando. Real quick, let's pay the bills here too, real quick, before we forget. Everything you guys have seen me wear for the last 18 months to 2 years, and hopefully everything that you see me wearing pretty much head to toe for the next 10 years is Waggle. Get your waggleon.com, code Hosel10, and the QR code that you're seeing right up here at the top of your screen now, that's a direct QR code that it has our discount built into it. So it's already added. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to remember Hosel10. You don't have to go to getyourwaggleon.com and then remember to type in Hosel10 before you hit checkout. That'll do it right there for you. That's all you have to do is scan that on your screen with your camera, and it'll take you right to it. Make it as seamless as possible. And here's what I was referencing there, just in case you guys still want to do it the old-fashioned way. That's totally fine too. But thank you to the people at Waggle, the official partner of the Lando Show. Love everything that those guys are doing. The fastest growing, and in my opinion, the best golf apparel manufacturer in the game right now. You don't have to love golf to love Waggle. They got something for everybody. All right. Hit that like button for me. Like our friend Gary so graciously reminded us of. Ooh, WWE guy. Must be late to the party. We've already broken all this down, my friend. But I will sum it up again for you because I know you're one of the regulars in here and I appreciate you being in here. And it's okay to see things differently. If you disagree with what I'm about to say, that is totally cool. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings. But we've already covered all this, and I've walked people through why I feel the way that I feel. But in layman's terms, $14 piles of poop doesn't equal one chocolate bar. And that's disrespectful to numerous in that. I just included them in the 14 because that's the number that he provided. Clearly, the Cowboys have stability and incredibly high ceilings and potentially even Hall of Famers on their offensive line right now. Okay, so the 14 is not applicable to my punchline, right? So disregard that. But I said in layman's terms, okay? They've thrown a bunch of crap at the wall this year, WWE guy, to try and see if they can luck their way into bargain shopping for better players at right guard. And you're right. It's going to feel like there's 14 guys because there are 14 total, but it's going to feel like all 14 of them are competing for the right guard spot. TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman, Robert Jones, Sadiq Charles, maybe even Cooper Beebe. I'm not moving him personally. I like him where he's at. But some people would argue that they should or could or will. I'm not one of them, but I'm just saying. So you ain't wrong, and I know that would go nuclear, WWE guy, and so the funny thing is we have actually been going back and forth behind the scenes as well, not like disrespectfully at all, like just chopping it up with each other and trying to plan something. It's just been I've been traveling, he's been having some other personal life stuff going on, like just family things that he's having to attend to, and so we were trying to make our schedules co-align. They haven't yet, but I agree. That's where he is very loud in favor, or I guess I should say against what I'm saying, against O-line early in the draft. I'm very loud in favor of it, especially if that's the highest graded player that you got. Trust your board, man. But so clearly, and I will just go ahead and say this, it's not a victory lap at all. But if AOC and I were on a live show together, like, presenting both sides, I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I will tell him in the event that we do this. And I hope that we do. I'll message him after this. He was saying it that there was too many guys before Sadiq Charles was brought in. So my point would be, they're still digging. They're still doing their homework. The Cowboys clearly still feel the way that I feel, which is it's as simple as this, guys. This is it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than this. They can be better. Yes, you have 14 guys. But can you be better? Of course you can. And if that's how the board falls, that's how they should approach it. This isn't a 1 year plan, guys. I don't want to just be good in 2025. I want to win. I want to have another dynastic run. Let's do that in the trenches. I covered Texas too. You know what the biggest difference was? The dark decade in 2020, I guess 3, which when they made their first college football playoff run. You know what happened in 2022? I bet you don't. Most people aren't looking at it as deeply as I am. Do you realize a 5-year stretch leading up to 2022, between 2018 and 2022, the University of Texas was tied for last in the Big 12 with the fewest amount of offensive linemen brought in on scholarship. Do you know the math? The number is 18, by the way. 18 total in a 5-year stretch. The math. 18 divided by 5 is 3.6. Do you know what the schools like Oklahoma, who at the time was dominating Texas, or just perennially winning 10, 11, 12 games, right? The Oklahomas of the world, the Alabamas of the world, the Georgias of the world, the Ohio States of the world. Those schools are bringing in 5 every cycle. Because that's the difference. As you improve, ask anybody who's ever coached or played at a high level. What's the biggest difference from high school to college, from JUCO to, say, D2, from D2 to D1, from D1 to FCS, from FCS to FBS, and then from FBS to the big show? Trench play. Every school has multiple 4-4 guys, multiple freak athletes, multiple stud skill position players that end up playing on Sundays. I'll do this study officially one day, and I'll have the numbers exactly. But I know that what I'm saying is correct, and I know that most of you out there agree with me. There are significantly fewer 300-plus pound men who love football enough, who are athletic enough, and who are technical enough to be good in this league than there are the men who are between 185 and 250 pounds. Got bukus over here in the 180 to 250 club. You got microscopic qualified individuals in the 315 plus pound club. Even less than that, 300 plus. You can be, ask Aaron Donald, you can be a world-class, all-time great trench player in this league at 280. Oso Digizua was about 290, 292. Right, you don't have to be 300, but that's just a way for me to get you guys to process it, to think about it a little bit differently, right? There you go. Scott Robinson is taking notes in class. He is, and not me. I'm just saying, like, what I mean by that is Scott is following the Texas Longhorns very closely. He gets it. By the way, Kyle Flood, Texas's offensive line coach, the guy that just so happened to come from that one school down there. I forget that one coach's name. What was it? Something like Nick Saban or Saban or something like that. Some pretty good coach from what I've heard. Yeah, Kyle Flood was that guy's right-hand man, his offensive line coach, co-offensive coordinator. That guy saw what I just told you. The Texas Trench tragedy, he solved it. 7 offensive linemen in his first full cycle as the offensive line coach of the Texas Longhorns. 7. The 5 years prior to that, 3.6. So he doubled it. He doubled their intake, and he completely transformed and revolutionized a college football program, a blue blood, a sleeping giant. Remember, people were saying, Texas recruits well every year. They still suck. That was actually true, by the way. And most of them were my friends. Well, the people I'm referring to are countless of my friends who grew up in North Central Texas that graduated from Texas Tech University. So clearly they love to hate the team that I cover. the team that I've always loved too, right? The team that I wasn't good enough to play for baseball wise. So it is what it is. Otherwise, I would have gone there. Sorry, I chased a dream. I don't have a degree from the University of Texas, but now I get to cover them for a living. So it worked out. But they would always say that. Texas recruits so good. Why do they suck? And then, and they would take it a step further because I would be so invested in talking about keeping up with the recruiting, and people would ask, my friends, why do you pay attention? They're gonna have a top 5 recruiting class, and they're still gonna win 6 games. Okay, well, and then even back to prior to this year, 2024. Okay, so Texas they were fresh off of their first college football playoff run. Okay, 2023 season, and the narrative was that was an outlier. That was a fluke. Texas has always recruited well, right? Nothing has changed. When in fact, everything had changed. Yes, they were correct, though. Texas had recruited well. They did have highly touted and highly ranked classes, multiples of which were inside the top 6, 2 inside the top 5. In that dark decade span, the Tom Herman and the Charlie Strong eras. Okay. But go scour the classes, and you will find the numbers that I just gave you about the total number of offensive linemen they were bringing in. Why was Kansas perennially they were the laughing stock of college football? Well, because like Texas, they were tied for the fewest amount of scholarship offensive linemen brought into the program. They couldn't win up front. The recruiting classes that Texas was famed for being in the top 5 and then winning 5 games, following up with a 5-game season, winning season, they were built the wrong way. Right? It was all skill and no will. Plenty of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Mercedes-Benz. They had Bentleys out there at running back, receiver, corner, safety, 5-star this way, 5-star that way, 5-star up, 5-star down. They didn't have enough F-250s. They didn't have enough G-Wagons. Not enough tanks out there. Kyle Flood changed that. So let's not be complacent here. Okay. It's possible, like me, to really, really want another stud, just absolute, just cement in his chest dude that wants nothing more than to kill you up front. Somebody like Armand Membou. Nothing more I would love than that right there. But with the same amount of enthusiasm, I can say things like, man, nothing more I would love than to have, in my opinion, a multi-generational talent. And yes, emphasis on the multi, because the term generational talent is way overused and abused. Multi-generational talent. And yes, I would take Ashton Jeanty over Bijan Robinson. So there you go. That's why it's multi-generational, because if it was consecutive years, then it wouldn't be a generational talent, because we just saw one last year. Jeanty's different than Bijan. And I say that with the utmost respect to one of the most gifted movers in space that I have ever seen, and in tight windows, Bijan. The way that Bijan moves is different. But the things that Ashton Jeanty can do, he can beat you by going around you, just like Bijan could and would and will. But Ashton, that's a dude. He's got a little bit more cement in his chest. He can go right through you if he wants. And he can hit you from 95. Home run threat as well. I would love Ashton Genty. For the physical ability, absolutely, but also for the character that I know that he possesses. Tetairoa McMillan, unique. Ain't many bodies like him that can do the things that he can do in the NFL. That's why people struggle to say that they struggle to find a comp. They Drake London is popular, and I could see it a little bit. I see that. I've heard Mike Evans a time or two. But Mike Evans don't move with the sweet feet that Tetairoa McMillan does. Drake London ain't half the athlete that Tetairoa McMillan is. Dude's a tap dancer. He is sweet feet. To be that big and move the way that he does and stop and start as quickly as he can. And people, they say he can't separate. Well, guess what? In the NFL, wide open is 3 yards of separation. There are plenty of examples of Tetairoa McMillan being between having 3 and 5 yards of separation on his film. Plenty. So if that 3 to 5, because he will be obviously seeing better talent, more athletic, bigger and stronger, by the way, as well, corners. So, okay, drop that number down a yard or two. He's still open. And guess what? With Tetairoa McMillan, even if he's not wide open by the NFL standards, 3 yards or more, when he's not open, he's still open because he's bigger and stronger than anybody he's going to be matching up with. Oh, and by the way, you can put him in the slot if you're worried about him separating. Give him a two-way go, a little bit more. But even if you don't, there's this dude named CeeDee Lamb. Maybe you've heard of him. He's drawing most, if not all, the attention. He's bracketed, and he's lining up with CB1, whoever it is, the opponent that day. We talk about Tetairoa McMillan as if he didn't go 1,300 yards back-to-back seasons at Arizona with me playing quarterback. We talk about Tetairoa McMillan as if you drafting him at 12, he's required. It's a prerequisite that he becomes the number one target in this offense. I got news for you. Linda, listen.
Guys, listen, Linda. Listen. Okay,
listen to Lando, Linda. Tetairoa McMillan is going to be just fine. And I will be very happy with it. So I'm not just saying that it's got to be an offensive lineman. I am simply saying you shouldn't be complacent with what you have today. That's it. Ben Larimore is in the chat. Wow. What's up, big dog? Did not expect to see that one. There's your NFL draft extraordinaire right there, ladies and gentlemen. I just realized I've had that ticker going this whole time. I apologize, guys. There's so much more that I have to say. I may just have to be live every day for the next 2 weeks until the draft concludes and we, things sort of settle down again, and then we start talking about Micah Parsons again, and I'll be back live every day for 2 more weeks. That's the beauty of this, man. The NFL, but especially the Dallas Cowboys, man, they have figured it out. When there's nothing to talk about, they'll find something. They'll create something. They control the entire calendar, really. With the exception of what? Mid-June to mid-July. And then camp rolls around, and then it's preseason, and then it's regular season, and then it's the trade deadline, and then it's the postseason, and then it's the Super Bowl build up and hype, and then it's free agency, and then it's the draft. It's like it never ends. I freaking love it. That's why we're here, right? We all love it. And I know Salam is depending on me, so I'm gonna try to take care of you as many times as I can, my man. I really will. I really will. For not just for you, for me, because I get bogged down. I have so many thoughts and so many things to say. It's hard to think with a clean slate and then get in here and just like get in, get out, and say what I need to say. I just end up rambling, but I guess that's just who I was meant to be. So Ben, I'm gonna just have to say, like, I feel like that's all I've talked about, and I know you haven't had time to listen, so this is not your fault. But yeah, you're a little late. But like I said, I know you're grinding, bro, so it's not on you. That's why I was surprised to see you in here. So it's not necessarily that you're late. It's just that you've been busy, and I get that. I respect that. But yes, I've tried as best I can to be very loud about and very clear about where I'm at. I guess generally speaking, I don't think that they're not ready to play football today at defensive tackle. Still, they're not ready to play NFL football today, in my opinion, at right guard. I think you can improve there, even from Brock, Sadiq. I like Sadiq actually, but that, once again, though, I didn't even talk about this. That's a guy that quit football, guys, because he just didn't want to play. Sports psychology guy. I could spend an hour on this topic alone about why that's such a red flag for me. But if you don't love it, how are you getting better? And what's different now than it was a year ago when you stopped loving it? Why are you different now? That's what I'm talking about. 14 guys in the offensive line room on the depth chart, yes. But once again, back to the analogy. 5 piles of poo don't equal 1 chocolate bar. You hope yes, maybe somebody will pan out and become, oh, dang, this dude, how did we miss this guy? Right? Why didn't we see Robert Jones that he was just in the wrong scheme, which I think is possible, by the way. I think that's I haven't even talked about that either. There's an article for me. Robert Jones was playing in an outside zone, the Shanahan tree, Mike McDaniel scheme. He ain't necessarily a mover. I'm sure Ben would love to talk to you guys about that. That's not a lateral athlete. He'll thrive at least I don't want to say thrive. Like, I'm not saying he's a world beater. He will be more successful, more comfortable in a power scheme. Probably be fun to watch him and Cooper Beebe duo somebody. Combo and climb. You also got the pin and pull stuff that's still an element, but anyway. Yeah, that's the general. But also too, corner is in the same discussion. I didn't even finish my thoughts there, Ben. But you can't play NFL football today with your current state of your cornerback room. I don't think. You're rolling out Kalen Carson and Kyer Elam. But I mean, you're one injury away from sounding the alarm. Unless I'm very, very possible that I'm forgetting somebody. I need to eat and I need to get off and get out of here because I just feel like I have not gotten enough sleep lately. Boy's head is pounding. What else am I forgetting to say? Have I said everything? Also, Ben, just like off-season wise, roster construction, they created $55 million of space. They've sort of spent it down to about 30 or so. I haven't checked it in the last few days. I like Elam's ceiling as well, Salam. I do. But we'll talk about that later. Let me finish my thoughts here. Dang it, where was I? Lost my train of thought. What was I about to say, guys? Somebody help me out. Where was I going? I don't remember. Somebody can help me out in the next 10 or so seconds. We'll continue that thought, but I forgot. It's not your fault, Salam, by the way. It's just me. I'm tired. My brain ain't working the way that it normally does. Okay. Let me go through here real quick. These articles and maybe some that I haven't touched on yet. Oh, I realized, okay, I don't think I ever finished my thoughts on, okay, here we go. We'll close with Agent Zero. So everything that we discussed as it relates to the offensive line and the NFL draft, sort of the whole point about this project here, is stemming from what I've been paying very close attention to, which is the intentionality that Coach Shoddy is approaching this offseason with. And it's all geared towards a culture shift. Remember, I wrote 5 pillars. It quickly became 7 after they flipped the money around. They were acting quickly, swiftly with with foresight, I guess. Trying to get these deals done with Osa and create the space with Dak and CD and restructure those deals. And they try to get the ball going early to create more space with Micah. Those were just a few of the signs. And then it was Jerry Jones leaving some of his own. He's still been quiet, by the way. He's only spoken 3 times so far this offseason, one of which was at the Combine, obviously, but he canceled his bus tour. Okay. The other was Zach Martin's retirement ceremony, and then the other one was at the owners' meetings. So it's like 3 of the things where he just strictly cannot avoid media. Otherwise, he may have elected to. And maybe it would be 0 times that we've heard from Jerry Jones all offseason, which once again, that's rare. That's very rare. Okay. And then it was a couple other things, but it's the 5 pillars that became 7, and it's now 8. Saying, smell you, Rowdy. Like, not kicking him to the curb, but not using him as an excuse to not let DeMarvion Overshown rock number 0. Okay. I'm going to read this and I'm going to go through this fast because I really have to pee and my head really hurts. So, for the first time in Dallas Cowboys history, somebody will wear number 0. And it's not just anybody. It's DeMarvion Overshown, a.k.a. Agent Zero. That's his Twitter handle, by the way, if you were curious about that. The significance, it goes far beyond jersey marketing or social media hype. This is it, guys. This is the point. This is the key, okay? The Cowboys often conduct themselves as if they're a marketing agency, marketing team that just so happens to play NFL football on the side. That's Mike Fisher's patented statement right there. I stole it, but he's the source. Very few, if any, people have been around the Joneses longer and know them better than Mike does. Maybe the play-by-play guy for the Dallas Cowboys probably knows them a little bit better. There might be another name or two. You get the point, okay? For the first time in Cowboys history, somebody will wear number 0. It's kind of significant, right? That's a culture shift, is it not? Am I crazy? Am I drinking the Kool-Aid, or am I just reporting the facts? You tell me. Am I being objective with you? Asking questions, telling you that there's something in the pipeline for a trade or a free agency acquisition, a big splash, because I'm reading the tea leaves. Meta-analysis. I'm below the surface on what's happening, and now I'm behind the scenes, thank God. Kind of, barely. Why'd they create all that space? For what? To sit on it? I don't think so. I still think there could be something in the pipeline. We still got 2 weeks. Agent Zero being allowed to exist in the NFL's most traditional franchise. Most traditional. One that's avoided that number altogether is a bold step. This is a team that hasn't always embraced change or authenticity. When it risks tampering with the Cowboys brand machine, right? Rowdy, pom-poms, smoke and mirrors. But this right here, this Agent Zero, this is substance with a nice aftertaste. And in my opinion, this has Shoddy's fingerprints all over it. The culture shift, right? And I'm about to get into that right here. Let's not overlook or overstate the psychology at play. Not just for Demo, but for everybody watching. For DeMarvion Overshown, he's the first player in Cowboys history to rock number 0. It's not just it's not just symbolism, right? Or just a news story. It's transformative, I think. Or as this article states, transformational. That jersey, so I played professional baseball, obviously. I know a little bit about the psychology involved when you wear a number that you like. I felt it. Every kid, everybody can go back to to their younger days, their little league days, and can remember how cool it was, how exciting, how hyped up you felt when you got to select your jersey number and you got the one that you wanted. Right? It's like your armor. It's how the number makes you feel, because in most cases, like, it means something to those players. There's a deeper rooted meaning behind why they wear the number. But for some, it's just as simple as how it makes me feel. I feel untouchable when I put this 1 on, or when I put this 15 on, or when I put this whatever it is. In this case, 0. It's a source of pride for you. It's your edge. It's your identity. There's a guys in the league, or everywhere, they gravitate towards it. Like I said, and it's primitive. It's as when we're little kids. We have a favorite number and we stick to it. From pee-wee all the way up to t-ball, all the way up to high school, when most of us quit playing. Unless you're me. Just kidding, guys. I wasn't very good. I was average. I was a stock righty that got a cup of coffee with the Brewers. So I'm I'm not that cool. That jersey becomes armor, though. Where was I? Okay, right here. So Overshown, coming off a major injury, though, being chosen as the catalyst. The first ever could absolutely light a fire that reignites the player that Dallas drafted to be the tone setter. Overshown even said it himself, by the way, and I listed Patrick Nosey Walker's tweet here. Overshown specifically stated, as Patrick notes, it's like putting a cape on. So there's your context, your validation right there. For it's more than just a number to these guys. Okay? Perception becomes reality, right? When you walk differently, you play differently. When you feel different, you play different. When there's a locker room full of other Cowboys that see the franchise now under Brian Schottenheimer embracing authenticity, toughness, change, that energy spreads like a wildfire. And I hope y'all hear me when I say that, as far as culture is concerned. The Country Club Cowboys. That shift. Could it potentially be what transforms the organization too? Under Brian Schottenheimer. Right? The guy who I wrote about as well. The significance behind his thoughts and revealing how half of his day is spent in the offseason. And how he states that the NFL, the game of football, is a relationship business. And how he conducts himself off of that, with that mentality, with that mindset, and the power that possesses. Guys who respect, teams with a roster full of guys who respect and relate to not just their brother next to them, their teammate, their positional room, or otherwise, but to the coaches that are there. When there's that bond, right? That's Steve Sarkisian. That's I could go another sidebar and relate this to Texas, but just for the sake of time, I won't. That C word. It's powerful because it's below the surface. It's psychology. It's what we can't see. It's the very thing. The C word, by the way, and I don't mean Cowboys. Culture, right? It's responsible for why teams suck at drafting, why it's so difficult to hit on a quarterback, why the bust rate, why you're lucky if you have 9 to 10 draft picks, if you get 2 to 3 starters, you're proud. You're happy with that. You're pleased because you can't measure the mind of the athlete. All right. But when you can connect with the mind of the athlete, when you can relate to the athlete, when you can cultivate culture with the athlete and all of the athlete's sidekicks, then you have something powerful. Shifting the soft country club narrative, shape-shifting the culture. Landon Holyfield, Athlon Sports, shape-shifting. Landon Holyfield, Athlon Sports, Brian Schottenheimer, half my day is spent A couple articles right there for you that go deeper on this. It's important. Overshown is not a fringe guy. The Cowboys see him as a core piece of their future. Fast, violent, instinctive, and already a vocal presence in the locker room despite missing his rookie year. Fish is right. They will sell some jerseys here, but naming him the first 0 is not a gimmick. It's a nod of trust, a nod of belief, a signal that toughness, individuality, and edge are being reprioritized. Schottenheimer's fingerprints are all over this one. The messaging this offseason has been crystal clear. It's physicality and it's toughness. Not just from Schotty, but from everybody. The guys that they're bringing in are proof. The way that they're conducting themselves are proof. The guys that they have on their 30 visit list are proof. The words that they're saying and reading the body language when they say it are proof. Agent Zero is more than just a nickname now. It's his official badge. That soldier's armor. And maybe, just maybe, it's a promise of the eighth pillar, we'll say, of change to come. See JC Cowboys up in here. This is going to be a good one to rewind and listen to if you're getting here late, if you're joining us after hours, if you will. This was a banger, though. Don't forget, guys, get your wagalon.com. That QR code right there. Discount's already built in. This company is incredible. The work that they do, I'm telling you guys, you'll love it. You'll love their stuff. They got something for everybody. This has been the Lando Show.
All right.
With sports below the surface.
I am inevitable.
And that's officially a wrap. Culture of cuts. He gets it too. When you look good, you play good, then it's all good. Agent Zero. Amen. Remember, guys, prayer changes things, and the war is already won. I appreciate y'all.